This is my response video to She Can Become Guru, Vaishnavi, Diksha Gurus, and ISKCON. I feel nervous. I think this is worth doing. Trigger warning, if you want to be liberal and feminist and be a devotee at the same time, a follower of Shrila Prabhupada, this video may increase your cognitive dissonance. So here we go. Okay, so the fact that there are 80 men and no women initiating makes people turned off to this movement. Okay, so if you look at Bhagavad Gita as it is, at the end of the introduction, there is a list of gurus from Brahma to Prabhupada, 32 in number, and out of those there are 32 men and there are no women. In our Sampradaya, there are female Diksha Gurus like Janavamata, but I don't think that there's more than a handful, whereas if you look at all the male Gurus, there's hundreds. You could just list them on and on, whereas if you try to list the female Diksha Gurus, it's challenging. So is that discrimination? You can argue that it's discrimination. Go ahead and argue that. But if you want to say that I believe this is discrimination and I believe in this tradition, then you're saying that you believe in a backward sexist tradition. That's called cognitive dissonance. Okay? Now suppose that there are some liberals out there who are turned off by us not having female Diksha Gurus. So then we bring our affirmative action and we get 80 female Diksha Gurus, or we get 40 of the male Gurus to become female Diksha Gurus, and we can have like transgender Gurus. Then some people, you know, feminists, transgender, gay, bisexual people, they're like, alright, great, ISKCON is embracing equality. Then they come and they read Bhagavad Gita as it is, and they see that there's 32 male Gurus, and then they read statements like women are less intelligent. They're just going to be turned off again. So you can't really avoid people being turned off. And even saying that people are turned off, what are your sociological evidences of this? What are your studies? Let's find out. Okay, so for evidence, he shows a picture of the devotees at Krishna House, ISKCON Gainesville. And I'm in the picture because I'm from Gainesville, Florida, and I've been attending Krishna House for many years. I know all the people in those pictures and the people who have come through Krishna House over the years. And I'd say the majority of them are still involved with Krishna consciousness. There are a few who are bothered by traditional gender values that are taught in the Vedas and by Srila Prabhupada. But I don't know anyone who's so bothered by it that they will not remain involved on a long-term basis. So this is a false testimony. This is a false testimony. It's a lie to propagate the feminist propaganda that is totally against Prabhupada and an infection from academia. Academics are people who know everything about Prabhupada and they're his greatest critics. They're offenders. I will show you, man. Here, Rick E. Jarrow, he wrote this academic book on the Bhagavatam. And what does he say? He says that the Bhagavata narrative then is dealing in the fantasy images of a male-dominated tradition, and clearly finds this preferable to dealing with real women, just as Valmiki's Rama winds up ruling his kingdom with the golden statue of Sita beside him. The epic and Puranic tradition is not merely misogynist. It places the female in the realm of the feared and the fantastic, and then has to deal with the consequences. One can only wonder, along with G. Morris, Kartires, and Sudhir Kakar, if the harsh rhetoric of the Purana in this regard indicates a lack of any mature Oedipal resolution, hence the fear of the feminine. So these academics think that the Bhagavatam was written by men who were so incapable with women and frustrated that they just condemn them in the scripture. That's what they believe. Here's a book, Modern Interpretations of the Bhagavad Gita by Robert Minor. Let's see what he has to say about Srila Prabhupada. The striking feature of Swami Bhaktivedanta's approach to the Gita is that he reads the complete teachings of the book, indeed of the Vedic literature generally, into any passage. There is no recognition given to the possibility of progressive teaching in the text. This is particularly striking in some of the early passages of the book. Not only does Swami Bhaktivedanta seem to disavow any principle of progression in the Gita, but he also goes beyond specific texts and the Gita itself when he makes it the occasion for the inculcation of the Vaishnava lifestyle. In several places, Swami Bhaktivedanta credits Chaitanya with the instituting of the chanting of the Mahamantra. Yet in numerous places in his purports on specific verses, which never mention this practice of chanting, Swami Bhaktivedanta recommends it as the best way of achieving the goal of the text in the present age, Kali Yuga. This whole article is just criticizing Prabhupada for not representing the Gita properly. Prabhupada presented Bhagavad Gita as it is because people were misinterpreting it, and he left no room for misunderstanding, and therefore he very gracefully put the conclusion of the text throughout it. But Robert Minor thinks that's a fault because he doesn't understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay, here's some more academic studies. The Hare Krishna movement, the post-charismatic fate of a religious transplant. Let's see what they have to say about Srila Prabhupada. While Bhaktivedanta Swami often made generalizing statements regarding Mayavadis, he issued even more broad generalizations about women. Generally, all women desire material enjoyment. Women in general should not be trusted. Women are generally not very intelligent. It appears that woman is a stumbling block for self-realization. Other statements that are not supported by the earlier commentators are Bhaktivedanta Swami's views on rape. Although rape is not legally allowed, it is a fact that a woman likes a man who is very expert at rape. When a husbandless woman is attacked by an aggressive man, she takes his action to be mercy. Generally, when a woman is attacked by a man, whether her husband or some other man, she enjoys the attack being too lusty. In general, he depicts groups as less intelligent, inferior, sexually incontinent, and downright dangerous. Since his statements in these areas have no parallel in the writings of his predecessor commentators, one is therefore led to search for links in his personal experiences. However, this research and the question of how his views influence his followers falls under the academic rubrics of sociology or psychology of religion, rather than traditional Sanskrit commentarial exegesis. This is a straight-up attack on Prabhupada. He's claiming that he does not represent his tradition and that he's brought in foreign views. And the devotees who are into all this feminism are the ones who are really bothered by Prabhupada's statements. And so this academia, it rationalizes for them to take out what they don't like from what Prabhupada said and just accept what they like. This is called Ardha Kukur Nyaya, accepting the half chicken philosophy. So I like the side of the chicken that gives the eggs. I don't like the side of the chicken that I have to feed. So just cut off the head and then I win. Doesn't work like that. When we accept a guru, we accept everything that the guru says as truth. Sarvam etam ratan manye yan mam vadasi keshava. To accept Prabhupada as an authority means to accept everything that he says and not say that, oh, well, spiritually he knew what he was talking about, but materially he was kind of an old man who was influenced by a lot of different ideas which don't represent the tradition. Oh, you don't think it represents the tradition, huh? Okay, let's get an example here. Prabhupada says that Bhagavatam 6:18-42, women must be cared for so that they will not be free to manifest their natural tendency for gross selfishness. There have been many cases, even in the present day, in which women have killed their husbands to take advantage of their insurance policies. This is not a criticism of women, but a practical study of their nature. So you could say, well, that's Prabhupada's view. Let's see what the Bhagavatam says. Bhagavatam 9:14-36. Kvapi sakyam navai strinam vrakanam hridayam yatha. You should know that the heart of a woman is like that of a fox. There's no use making friendship with women. So then, academics could say, like in this book, that, well, the whole Puranic tradition is misogynist and sexually frustrated. Okay, let's go to the Rig Veda Samhita. Mandala 10, Sukta 95, verse 15. Navai strainani sakyani santi salavrakana hridayanyeta. Female friendships do not exist. Their hearts are the hearts of jackals. The same verse that's in Bhagavatam was taken from Rig Veda Samhita, and the same thing is expressed by Srila Prabhupada. Good luck if you want to try to make a liberal feminist version of Krishna consciousness, because it doesn't fit with any Shastra and it doesn't fit with Guru. Prabhupada says, therefore generally women less intelligent than men. You cannot find any big scientist, any big mathematician, any big philosopher amongst women. That is not possible. I mean, think about it. Any great band, any great political leader, any great athlete, mathematician, scientist, they're all men. Albert Einstein, Bruce Lee, Michael Jordan, Martin Luther King Jr. They're all men. So it's true what Prabhupada's saying here. He says, in the history of India, there's no woman leader. Throughout the Mahabharata, you'll find. Mahabharata is the greater history of India. Maha means greater and Bharata. So greater Bharata. That means this whole planet. You won't find a woman leader. Said that in Bombay on March 24th, 1977. So does that mean that a woman can't become Krishna conscious? No. Of course a woman can become Krishna conscious. And she doesn't need the GBC to approve her to do that. And if she can become fully Krishna conscious, then she's a guru. That's what Prabhupada says. He says, yes, Janava Devi was Nityananda's wife. She became. If she's able to go to the highest perfection of life, why is it not possible to become guru, but not so many? So any woman who's qualified is a guru and doesn't need the big bad GBC to lift the moratorium of hatred against her. You're not a victim. You're responsible for your own Krishna conscious and for your own integrity as a guru representing Srila Prabhupada, whether you're a man or a woman. No one can take that away from you, period. And this whole, you're a victim kind of stuff is just completely disempowering and insulting to women. Yes, it's an insult. This so-called video for women's rights is an insult to women. So Prabhupada says, if she's qualified, she can become guru, but not so many. He's not saying not so many because we need to have some artificial ratio of men to women, where we're just looking at gender of like, oh, we have 80 men, or we need to have at least 80 women so that it's equal, then people won't be turned off by our movement. No, we don't need affirmative action. Prabhupada says not so many, because not so many women will become qualified. It's more difficult for a woman to become qualified spiritually. Why is that? That's explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, and chapter 31, where it says that the infatuation and bondage which accrue to a man from attachment to any other object is not as complete as that resulting from attachment to a woman or to the fellowship of men who are fond of women. The woman created by the Lord is the representation of Maya, illusion, and one who associates with such Maya by accepting services must certainly know that this is the way of death. It says, woman is declared in the scripture to be the gateway to hell for the advancing devotee. A living entity who, as a result of attachment to a woman in his previous life, has been endowed with the form of a woman, foolishly looks upon Maya in the form of a man, her husband, as the bestower of wealth, progeny, house, and other material assets. A woman, therefore, should consider her husband, her house, and her children to be the arrangement of the external energy of the Lord for her death, just as the sweet singing of a hunter is death for the deer. So, we're not this body, we're spirit soul. All spirit souls are equal, and no bodies are equal. As long as bodies are different, they cannot be equal. So one person is taller, one person is shorter, one person is more attractive, one person is less attractive. You can't artificially make people equal, and if you did, that would be a really boring world to live in. Okay, even the mind's not equal. One person is more intelligent than another. That's just the way things are according to karma. Okay, so a person who's really attached to material enjoyment, they find the most enjoyment in the form of a woman, and therefore, giving up this body, their attachment takes them to take that form of a woman. So generally women are fallen souls who are more attached to material enjoyment. And therefore it says that woman looks on man as the bestower of wealth, progeny, house, and other material assets. So the woman is more materialistic. That's what Srila Prabhupada says. You can accept that, or you cannot accept that. You're totally free to disagree. But if you say that I'm a follower of Prabhupada and I think we should have affirmative action and that it's discrimination not to have equal amount of male and female Diksha Gurus, that's hypocrisy. That's cognitive dissonance. And you're just going to confuse yourself and frustrate yourself trying to reconcile these contradictory standards that you have, that you accept Prabhupada as a guru and you're teaching his teachings, but you don't actually accept what he says. Just admit that you're ashamed of it. Just be honest, rather than trying to make this whole spiel and misrepresenting what Prabhupada says. Okay, let me continue this. Turned off to this organization. See, this is good. This is honesty. She's saying, I feel ashamed of some of the things that Prabhupada says, and that we don't have female Diksha Gurus, and I don't tell people about it. Okay? You have that right. You have that right. But let's see what's Prabhupada's attitude about people becoming offended or people becoming ashamed of him saying that women are less intelligent. Here's a conversation. Indian man. That one rascal yogi was there, and he said that in the Vedas, everything is mentioned that we can drink, and woman and man can have equal rights. Prabhupada. No, I said that if you are equal rights, then make some arrangement. Sometimes you become pregnant, sometimes he becomes pregnant. Why there's not equal right? Indian man. She was telling I said that Prabhupada sometimes says these things that we all feel ashamed, because devotee. The medicine is not always palatable for these people. Prabhupada. But in speaking spiritual understanding, we cannot make any compromise. What to speak of in Mauritius, in Chicago, I told. There was great agitation in the papers. Harikesh. On the television too. Devotee. In France also. Prabhupada. They were very upset. And I was coming, I think, in Chicago in the airplane. One of the host girls she was seeing, I asked her to supply 1 7-Up, and she said, I have no key. She was so angry. But all the captains and others, they gathered around me. Harikesh. I think she was the same stewardess who came in the back and asked us, why the Swamiji doesn't like women? Prabhupada. No, I don't say that I don't like women, but I cannot say that equal rights. How can I say? First of all, show that you have equal rights. Your husband becomes sometimes pregnant, and you sometimes become pregnant, alternately. Akshay Ananda. That doesn't mean you don't like them. Prabhupada. No, it's the truth. I'm speaking the truth. That if you have equal rights, then let your husband become pregnant. Make some arrangement. Harikesh. Vishaka was preaching to her. She said that actually we're less intelligent. Prabhupada. Yes, and that is Krishna consciousness. Morning walk on December 10th, 1975. So Prabhupada had this TV interview where he was very candid because the woman was asking him about his views on women and their role in the movement. And Prabhupada he explained everything very rationally, with care for women. The traditional values that have been in human society since time immemorial. And there was a great agitation. And he did the same thing in Mauritius and in France. Okay. And he says that in speaking spiritual understanding, we cannot make any compromise. So when you hear that, you might think he's about to say, well, in spiritual we can't make a compromise and say that Krishna is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when it comes to these other things, like women are less intelligent, then we can compromise. No, he says, in spiritual understanding we cannot make any compromise. And that's why I said it straightforward in Mauritius, in Chicago, in France. And then at the end, he mentions how his disciple, Vishaka, was preaching that actually we're less intelligent. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means you accept the order and the words of the Guru as the truth, and you act on them. Sarvametam vratam nanyekya mang madasi keshava. Arjuna said to Krishna, I accept everything that you say is truth. Agya guru nam hyavacharaniya. One should take the words of the spiritual master without any kind of artificial interpretation. Okay? So you might be ashamed of Prabhupada. You might be offended by Prabhupada. We're not going to change things just because of that. I think it'd be more valuable for you to consider why you're offended. Prabhupada says that women need protection. And when they're not protected, then we have unwanted pregnancies. They become dependent on the government. The population is spoiled. If women are protected, then society is better. It's coming from a caring place. And he's standing up for the principles that have been done for thousands of years. To say that women are less intelligent isn't to put them down. It's just the way things are.
Ideas about women, because I feel so strongly about this issue, being an issue that they feel.
So then we have Ravinda Swarup, and he says that people read Prabhupada's books and they see things that strike them as sexist or prejudiced, but Prabhupada in person, he wasn't like that. It's a good point. Prabhupada was very gentlemanly and accepting of everyone. He wanted everyone to be engaged in Krishna consciousness, whether male or female, young or old, straight or gay, Indian or American. He wanted everyone to be engaged in Krishna consciousness. And at the same time, he acknowledged the differences between people, engaged them accordingly, and he didn't say that anything and everything is the same and okay. He had moral boundaries and distinctions. For example, he said that homosexuality is mode of ignorance. Mode of ignorance. Why? Because when a man and a woman come together, they create a child. Okay? So the natural connection between the highest pleasure of sex and the highest sacrifice of raising children are put together. But when you're homosexual, there's no children. It's unnatural. It's not the way that God set up things. So therefore, it's the mode of ignorance. At the same time, he had homosexual disciples, and he engaged them and even gave them positions of leadership. So both things are there. Prabhupada was accepting and also firm. So then we have Professor, some academic guy.
For himself, he didn't have anything gender.
We have this academic guy, and he's saying that Prabhupada taught men how to cook, and he had no sense of gender rules. Prabhupada definitely had a sense of gender rules. Prabhupada says that a woman's real business is to look after household affairs, keep everything neat and clean, and if there's sufficient milk supply available, she should always be engaged in churning butter. Letter to Chayadasi in 1972. Let's see. He also says that if the husband is nice and the woman follows, woman becomes faithful and chaste to the husband, then their both life becomes successful. Okay, those are gender rules, and this person is saying that Prabhupada had no sense of gender rules. That's a lie. That is misleading. And I don't even know who this person is. I've never seen him.
One evening he was looking into each of our eyes, looking at each and every one of us, saying, I want each one of you to open a temple somewhere. And at that time, I was so young, so impetuous, and I was only 16 years old, and I just said, even the girls? Swamiji? That's what I said. And Prabhupada looked at me, and he looked very intently, and he said, there is no difference between the boys and the girls.
Okay. So here we have an account of someone who was with Srila Prabhupada. I'd like to compare this with Prabhupada's statements. So she's claiming that she was with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was asking all of them to open temples, and she said, even the girls, Swamiji? Prabhupada said, there's no difference between the boys and the girls. Okay? Now here's a quote from Srila Prabhupada, May 27th, 1974 in Rome. He says, everything will be satisfied, just like our women, Krishna conscious. They are working. They do not want equal rights with men. It is due to Krishna consciousness. They are cleansing the temple. They are cooking very nicely. They are satisfied. They never say that, I want to go to Japan for preaching like Prabhupada. They never say, this is artificial. So Krishna consciousness means work in its constitutional position. The women, men, they remain in their constitutional position. Who are the devotees who open temples? Tamal Krishna Goswami, and I'm not so good on ISKCON history, but I mean, there were the Grihastas who went to London, but were there any women who opened temples on their own? Actually, Prabhupada says that a woman should not travel alone. So, I mean, this account that she's giving, what Prabhupada said, it totally clashes with this documented quote, which you can hear Prabhupada's voice saying. And then she says that Prabhupada said there's no difference between men and women. Prabhupada says that men and women are different, so therefore they can't be equal. Like, it just totally doesn't match. So we can't add and subtract things from the philosophy and concoct stories to fit our feminist agenda so that we feel good and we don't have to own our lack of faith in Guru and our shame of Srila Prabhupada. Here's a quote for you. Prabhupada says, yes, preaching. Preaching means you will become a perfect preacher. Preach only what you have heard from Krishna and Guru, that's all. Don't add or subtract. Then you are secure. And if you add some concoction, just like someone says, I may do whatever I like independently, if I chant, then everything is alright. That's a nonsense addition. It is not the fact. That is the danger. Some inexperienced men, he tries to introduce some concoction. Sometimes they say, Prabhupada said it. More misleading, yes. Sometimes they say that Prabhupada said it. It's misleading.
When you are teaching Krishna consciousness, there is no difference.
Here we have Prabhupada who comes to the West, who grew up in a culture where there is gender disparity.
Okay, here we have Abhishek Ghosh. I have no idea who this is, but he's an assistant professor in the religious studies and liberal studies in Michigan. Okay, and he says that Prabhupada came from a culture of gender disparity. Here's a quote from Prabhupada. Prabhupada's talking about how after the war of Kurukshetra, that Yudhisthira Maharaj was really concerned about the women who had been widowed or lost their sons or fathers in the war. So here's the quote from Prabhupada. So Maharaj Yudhisthira is very repentant. I have killed so many men, and some of them are fathers, some of them are brothers, some of them are sons, some of them are husbands of the women. And because I have killed them, now this woman class, they become friendless. So he is, just see how much he is aggrieved, thinking of the condition of the woman. And people accuse that in India, women are considered like slaves. Just see, the king is thinking of women so seriously, and is it a fact that women are taken as slaves? Who cares for slaves? So much anxiety, and that is king. Yes, a king shall give protection to everyone, especially those who are helpless. Here's another quote. Women are very simple, soft-hearted. The whole idea is that they should be given protection, no freedom. That is the injunction of the Manu Samhita. Nastri Svatantram Arhati. Women should not be given freedom. They must be protected. Sometimes we receive the complaint in foreign countries that they say, you keep your women like slaves. I replied, we do not keep our women as slaves. They're very respected at home. The sons offer their highest respect to the mother. The husband gives the topmost protection to the wife. This is the example. So you can paint the whole thing to be something backwards and old, and then say that Prabhupada wasn't interested in that. But Prabhupada did teach traditional values, which are the best for women. So it's a double insult to say that this tradition is backward and that Prabhupada didn't teach it. It's a double insult. And that's what you can expect from professors of liberal studies, because they don't have faith in Srila Prabhupada. They have faith in their own intelligence to compile and compare information and come up with their own conclusions. And you'll never convince them of anything because they don't accept authority. You can tell them, well, Prabhupada says this, and they'll say, oh, well, in such and such story in this text in the Shatapatha Brahmana, which was written in the 5th century, it said like this, and this shows that the development of time, these attitudes were progressively changing. And so therefore, I take it with a grain of salt, what your Swamiji has to say. This is the BS liberal academic mentality, and it's never going to get them anywhere in Krishna consciousness. And if you listen to this stuff, you're going to be infected with doubts. And it'll be very difficult for you to practice Krishna consciousness.
And he actually gives a privileged position to women in comparison to what they were used to in India. Right? So I would think that he prioritized the more universal principles of Bhakti.
That's a good point. He really empowered women. He never said that you're a victim of social injustice, like these people. If you tell someone they're a victim, then they need a victimizer, and they need to overcome their victimizer before they can achieve their actual rights. That's not empowering. That's an insult. These liberals are insulting women, but people buy it because they want to be victims. Okay, Prabhupada empowered people, men and women. Just like there's a picture of Jadurani painting these beautiful paintings that were put in the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada didn't say, oh, you're a woman, you can't paint. Nothing. It's just, it's all natural. There's no artificial social, like, communism trying to make everyone equal, you know. There's no affirmative action trying to artificially make men and women equal so that even if a man's more qualified, the woman gets the position. This is complete nonsense. It's just there's natural differences between people, and so you engage them according to their propensities. That's Krishna consciousness. That's what Prabhupada did. And he empowered everyone. It's not because he took out the gender disparity of India. You know, things can be misused and misrepresented, but Prabhupada's not presenting some perverted social system from India that we need to like filter out and subtract from his teachings. Prabhupada is a Mahabhagavat. He's not under the control of Maya and the three modes of material nature, so how is he rejecting part of the tradition that's backward and then just giving like the essence of Krishna consciousness? No, Prabhupada gave us everything as it is, and that was his qualification. That's what he said over and over. So this liberal academic guy is another liar.
Right. That everybody is
honestly, this makes me angry, this blasphemy.
Thousands of words that Prabhupada spoke. And you think about the spirituality he was inviting people to join. It was fully inclusive of women being able on their own right to pursue that spiritual journey, not under the aegis of their husband or some male.
Oh my God, he had it so good for like the most of that. Prabhupada empowered people, yes. Okay, so this is Larry Shin, President Emeritus, Berea College, Kentucky, author of The Dark Lord. Oh boy, another academic. Is this a faithful follower of Srila Prabhupada who has faith in the Guru, what the Guru says and wants to carry out his order? No, this is a guy who wants to write some books and wears a little tie and just, you know, sit back and let people recognize how intelligent he is. And he says that, you know, oh, women don't have to be under the protection of any man. Okay, here's a quote from Prabhupada. Generally, women are very much passionate and are less intelligent. Therefore, somehow or other, a man should not be under the control of their passion and ignorance. By performing bhakti yoga or devotional service, a man can be raised to the platform of goodness. If a husband situated in the mode of goodness can control his wife, who is in passion and ignorance, the woman is benefited. Forgetting her natural inclination for passion and ignorance, the woman becomes obedient and faithful to her husband. Such a life is very welcome. That's from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter 27, verse 1. Srila Prabhupada is sitting in his samadhi and channeling the words of the previous acharyas in the Vedic tradition, and he is writing this in the holiest of scriptures, the Paramahamsa Samhita Srimad Bhagavata, the Amala Purana, the spotless Purana. And here's Professor Larry Shin saying that Prabhupada did not teach that women are benefited by having a trustworthy husband in the mode of goodness. I mean, and they don't even put it in that terms. They just say that, well, they don't have to be under control of any man. They can pursue spiritual life on their own independently. These people are such liars. They're idiots. it makes me angry. This is blasphemy. This is total misleading. This is why Krishna says that the parampara becomes lost. Because people add and subtract the different ideas that they get from their fancy academic books. And like, what's your authority, man? Who's your authority? Is it Srila Prabhupada or is it Rick Jarrow? Is it Edwin? You know, who wrote this article? You know, the person who wrote this article where he tries to just, like, make Prabhupada look bad and say that he's not representing his tradition. This person is a blooped out devotee who's angry at Prabhupada, and rather than just saying like, yeah, I'm angry at Prabhupada, he wants to like hide it and take it out on Prabhupada by writing books or writing articles in books. That's demonic. Seriously, that is so offensive. If you want to take this stuff as your authority, if you really think you're going to become Krishna conscious, take the words of Srila Prabhupada, the well-wisher of everyone, the Mahabhagavat from the spiritual world. Don't take this nonsense Larry Shin bullshit.
Prabhupada spoke. And you think about the spirituality he was inviting people to join, being able.
In terms of, not only was it an accepted tradition to have female gurus, but there was also no evidence that it was ever a controversial point.
Yes, it was never a controversial point because there was no affirmative action. Okay, no one was saying like, okay, well, you know, we have 80 gurus who are men, and we should have a better ratio of men to women because we don't have any women. So how about we do 80-80? Or would it be better if we do 60-80? Or perhaps we should do like double women, and then people will really flock to our movement. This affirmative action is just looking at the body. You're not looking at the qualification. We have 80 gurus. Well, the GBC approved them. But really, like, who's a guru is who's qualified. Ye Krishna Tattva Se Gurahai. You might be a Shudra, you might be a Brahmana, you might be a man, you might be a woman. If you're qualified, then you're a guru. Period. There's no controversy. There's no controversy. If you really accept the Krishna consciousness in the scriptures and Prabhupada, there's no controversy. It's just when you bring in this feminism that there's controversy. Okay? So these liberals can argue all they want, but they're not going to change the laws of nature. You can make as many social justice videos as you want, trying to get that heroic first female Diksha Guru to break through the tyranny and oppression and hatred of all the misogyny and ISKCON and the Puranas and the Vedas and all this stuff. But you're not going to make one more woman qualified than there already is. Because women don't become qualified as gurus by being rubber stamped by the GBC or being heroically represented by you with your false ego thinking you're so heroic, social justice warrior. They become qualified by Krishna consciousness. Period.
For example, disciples of these female gurus were very proud to declare themselves the disciples of the text or the poems, the songs they wrote, and there's no issue there. There's no text anywhere that shows that people are saying, for example, that Lord Chaitanya didn't appoint any female gurus, so therefore we shouldn't have female gurus in our movement. This is not at all an issue.
Well, that's an argumentum ad ignoram, argument by lack of evidence, but there's no argument against it. Well, how do you know? And where are these like glorifications of their female Diksha Gurus? I mean, I'm sure it's there, but it wasn't like I'm proud of my guru because she's a woman. No, it's like it didn't matter man or woman. Like I'm proud of my guru because she or he is a pure devotee. That's Krishna consciousness. Liberal is I'm proud of my guru because she's a woman. I want to have gurus for the sake of having female gurus. That's just some weird Kali Yuga stuff.
Women within our movement not being able to be gurus is a bit disturbing because I've always read in Prabhupada's books and what we've heard.
Okay. Women not being able to be gurus. Who said women cannot be gurus? What's a guru? Lord Chaitanya said that whoever you meet, Yari Deka Tarikaha, Krishna Pradesh, Amaragai Gurahai Taradesh. That whoever you meet, you just tell them what Guru and Krishna said, and this way you become a guru. So if you have integrity, that you take the teachings as it is, without adding or subtracting, you practice it in your life and you teach to others, then you're a guru. No one can stop you. So there's no discrimination. Any discrimination that there might be is just the arrangement of the Lord. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, he was discriminated against. Jesus Christ, he was discriminated against. Nityananda, he was discriminated against. Jesus didn't say that, well, I will begin my preaching when all of these Pharisees stop discriminating against me. He didn't play the victim, man. He was guru despite any discrimination. That's guru, man. So if women are going to go and say, well, I would be a guru if people will stop discriminating against me. You're not a guru. You're a victim. Stop being a victim. Take responsibility for your life. Tate anakampam sistamikchamano bunjana evat makatam vipakam. Whatever suffering comes, it's because of your own past misdeeds. You're responsible. So you be grateful for the situation as Krishna's arrangement for you to advance in Krishna consciousness. Don't tell me that we can't become a guru because the GBC. It's just self-pity. It's useless. It's like Krishna says, like, why are you lamenting? You're talking like a wise person, quoting Prabhupada's books. But wise people don't ever talk like in this self-pity nonsense. Rascaldom in Prabhupada's terminology.
Is that it's really about the qualification for someone to become a guru, and that one's material body shouldn't be taken into account when wondering if someone should be able to initiate disciples and connect people in our parampara, connect people back to their relationship with Krishna.
That's right.
In the early 70s, there was a small group of us traveling with Srila Prabhupada throughout South India. And when we came to Madras, the Smarta Brahmins of Madras came to Srila Prabhupada and spoke very strongly, saying that he should not make Malechas into Brahmins. In other words, Prabhupada came to the West. He picked up these young people who came from terrible backgrounds, and Prabhupada was now making them into Brahmins. And these Smartas said that no, this is not correct. And using the scriptures, Prabhupada very vehemently defeated them, saying again, it's according to quality and work that one is designated as a Brahmin, not due to birth. So it's very ironic that now, those same individuals that Prabhupada stood up for, that yes, you are Brahmins, despite your birth as Malechas, because of your quality and your work, you should be recognized as Brahmins. Those very people are now turning around and saying to Prabhupada's women disciples, Prabhupada's women followers, that no, because of your birth as a woman, therefore you're not qualified, you can't do this, you can't do that. So this is not Prabhupada's message. That's not.
Okay. Seems like a very convincing argument. But it's actually a non-equator. Because, okay, she's comparing caste brahmanas saying that Westerners can't become brahmanas with men saying that women can't do things because of their birth, including being Diksha Gurus. Okay. So, in Westerners becoming brahmanas, Prabhupada taught that they're degraded and they become brahmanas by raising from ignorance to passion to goodness, right? So they change their qualification. They experience some transformation, and then their qualification is different. They become brahmanas. Okay. When it comes to men and women, there's just inherent differences between men and women. And I mean, you could say by surgery that a woman can become a man, but she doesn't really become a man. And it's pretty easy to tell the difference, you know, someone who's really a woman or a man, but is pretending to be a woman or a man. a woman does not become a man by, you know, raising to a higher quality of nature, to goodness, and a man doesn't become a woman. So it's not like, you know, I'll say like, well, if you have equal rights, then, you know, you get your husband pregnant, or you can't do that because you're a woman. Is that discrimination? It's just like, oh well, I'll have surgeries and then I'll become a impregnator like my husband. Like, no. And who's saying that women can't do anything? That it's like a straw man fallacy too, like how you're representing the other argument. Prabhupada says that a woman can become guru, but not so many will become qualified. That's it. Okay? So don't play it off like discrimination. As soon as you start playing this discrimination game and name calling, like anyone who's not into your liberal, and this is such like liberal thing to do. It's just like you just play the hate card. Like rather than having an actual argument, you just say, oh, the people who oppose us, they're all hateful, bigoted, falsely on the barley concept, thinking that they're superior because they're white and they're male and all this stuff, and they're whatever, man. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Let's do this.
If we are to present Krishna to the world and give people the power of the holy name, the power of the transformation of the heart of the holy name, the power of the philosophy of the Gita, the understanding that we're not this body, and we artificially restrict women. It's so dangerous. The Gita said we must.
So dangerous. Who's artificially restricting women? I mean, this whole video just has so many assumptions about how there's just like this horrible discrimination against women that's completely artificial, and like it just turns people off to our movement, and it's like the worst thing ever. Like, well, it's like the huge assumption. This is like totally ungrounded, totally inconsistent with our scriptures. Like, where's your evidence for it? Like, what's the discrimination? As far as I know, the GBC passed a resolution that women can become a female Diksha Guru. It's just no one has done it yet. Like Prabhupada said, not so many, right? And the thing is, like, even women who are qualified aren't going to take that position. Let's look at the Bhagavatam. The gopis are perfectly Krishna conscious Mahabhagavat pure devotees in the association of Krishna. And they didn't take like a position on the Vyasa-san teaching their disciples. Mother Yashoda didn't do it. Kunti Devi didn't do it. Kunti Devi gave very beautiful prayers with the most profound teachings. And she definitely didn't play the victim. She didn't say that she's a victim of social discrimination by Dhritarashtra, and that when this is lifted up, then she will become a guru. No. No. Didn't become a guru. Devahuti. Actually, Kunti said, Tatapada Mahamsana, Muninam Avalapana, Bhakti-yoga Vidhanatam, Katam Pashim Mahistriya. Krishna, you're known by the greatest transcendentalists, so how can we women see you? She acknowledged the disadvantages of being a woman. Devahuti also. She said, although I'm a woman, and it's very difficult for me to understand your teachings, by your mercy it's possible. And she didn't become a guru. So there's nothing artificial about it. It's just the laws of nature. And until you accept the laws of nature, you're going to be playing the victim and hero advocate card and just talking all this nonsense and feeling bothered by Srila Prabhupada's words. But if you just become simple, accept what Prabhupada says, and you know, maybe it's difficult, but try to understand it. You know, it's all reasonably explained. Just read his books. Like, there's nothing. I mean, even that whole rape thing. Like, I've heard with my own ears women confess fantasies about being raped. I've heard it myself. I swear to God. You know, and there's just, you know, sometimes women like a man who's confident and aggressive. Hare Krishna. So everything's, you know, explained. You don't have to have like, you know, women are less intelligent and then like a 3-hour explanation about how it's like Prabhupada didn't actually mean that. Dude, come on, like, it's ridiculous.
On their own nature. And based on some social constructs, we tell women they cannot act on their nature. Again, this is a contradiction that I cannot explain.
Simply by
No, you cannot explain it because there's no social construct. There's Vedic culture.
lifting the moratorium against women, the GBC can make tremendous strides towards spreading this movement again amongst Westerners, the way it was done in very early days of ISKCON.
In the very early days of ISKCON, everyone took Prabhupada's words as true. And they had full confidence in him, and they were doing Sankirtan, following the 4 regular principles, chanting 16 rounds. That's the power of the movement. Prabhupada never said that we need to have gender equality and then our movement will spread. He never said that. That's a concoction. That is a lie. That is misleading. It is an offense to Srila Prabhupada. And it's really unfortunate that leaders are saying these things.
Is it possible Swamiji forewarned to be a guru in the line of simple succession?
Yes. If she is able to go to the highest perfection of life, why it is not possible to become guru? Jannavada people. Nityananda's wife. She began. But not so many. Man or woman, unless one has attained perfection, Jai Krishna Tattva Sai Guru. The qualification of Guru is that he must be fully cognizant of the science of Krishna. Then he or she can become Guru. Is it any prohibition that woman cannot become professor? If she is qualified, she can become professor. What is wrong? She must be qualified.
So this is the thing. It's really about qualification. It's not about equality. Prabhupada did not teach equality. So as soon as you start saying like we need to have this many men and this many women, and we have too many men and not enough women, and or even saying like we should have less women and we should have more men, like that's just all artificial. It's just qualification. And what the people in this video are missing is that men and women have different natures and different qualifications, different natural qualifications. It's possible for a man or a woman to become a guru, but they have to be qualified. That's it. In general, there's going to be less women who are qualified than men. And that's the way that God arranged things and the way that these bodies are. Hare Krishna. That's what Prabhupada teaches. If you don't accept that, then you're not really accepting Prabhupada's teachings. You're just accepting the parts that you like and rejecting the parts that you don't like, and then trying to come up with some stories or academic research or blaming other people as being supposedly discriminatory and misleading, and even like just completely reinventing Prabhupada's teachings, saying that he didn't teach gender roles and that he considered like the Indian culture to be have gender disparity, and that he wanted women to open temples, and that he said that there's no difference between men and women, and it's appalling. And it's like if you want to be lied to, you'll be lied to. If you feel bad about these things and you want to just not have to deal with it, then the voices of these people are going to be like, wow, that's just what I want to hear, and they'll pull you into it. But then as soon as you start reading Prabhupada's books, you're going to be bothered. You're going to be triggered. It's going to be very difficult for you in spiritual life because you're not actually connected with the Parampara. You're connected with someone who is deviating from Srila Prabhupada's teachings. I don't want that for you. I care about you. I want you to have the truth. So don't be misled. Just follow Srila Prabhupada and your life will be perfect. That's it. It's so simple. It's so simple. Hare Krishna.